And we can't say enough about death, can we? If you smoke, you're going to die. Maybe no big deal. I don't know. Have you asked your kids, your families, your husbands, wives, is it any big deal if you die? Does anybody really care? Probably, huh? You don't want to die. And suppose you don't die. Suppose you don't die. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You can have a seat. Thank you. Give a big hand. Suppose you don't die. Suppose you just have lung disease so bad you can't do anything without hauling this thing around anymore. Suppose you just have lung disease where you got to have these things stuck in your nose for the rest of your life. Or you've got heart disease so bad you can't get on the floor and wrestle with your grandkids. That you spend more time visiting hospitals than you do visiting parks. That you spend more time getting surgical procedures or being in the hospital that you can't even take a vacation anymore. Is that what you really want? Is that how you want the end of your life to be? Do you want it to retire with your loved ones and be able to travel around and do the things you want to do? Or do you want to be able to spend your retirement visiting doctors' offices and going into hospitals? Those are your choices. You have an opportunity right now to make the decision that you want to be healthy, that you don't want to have to carry this thing around with you everywhere you go, that you don't have to haul some of these things around with you everywhere you go. Not to be a little self-indulgent, but in my book, I talk about all these types of things. All the stories that I've shared with you are things that are in the book. Some of them are funny, some of them are sad. Sometimes you're going to laugh, sometimes you're going to cry, but you're going to get the message, and the message is, you only got one life to live, folks. You got lots of choices to make. You can choose to smoke, you can choose not to smoke. That's all, that's what life is, right? It's just a bunch of choices. But you know, choices are things that are molded from when we're very small. You know, when I was 4 years old, I had these things, we used to call them punks. In the 1950s, they had, and they're like incense, little sticks of incense that have bamboo sticking out of them. And I can remember very clearly when I was 4 years old, holding them like a cigarette and walking down the street with this thing's lit, thinking that the people around me that see me with this thing think, oh man, look at that little boy. He's got a cigarette. He's cool. That was in the 50s. Everybody smoked. Smoking was everywhere. And everybody smoked. And I started getting the habit of holding cigarettes when I was 4 years old. Even when I was, by the time I was 7 or 8 years old, I was actually smoking cigarettes. I was swiping them for my parents. Cigarettes were in vending machines. You can get them for 25 cents. When I was in the military in Germany, we'd buy whole cartons of Marlboro cigarettes for $1.35. That was in the late 70s, early 80s. You'd have to be nuts not to smoke to get a good deal like that, right? Hey, it's $1.35, I'm going to go buy a carton of cigarettes. It's all around you. You got to break lots of different habits. It's not just saying I don't want to smoke. It's like saying goodbye to the way you grew up. Saying goodbye to all the things that you knew when you were younger. Saying goodbye to that part of your life. That part of your life has to be over now. I choose to live a healthier life without cigarettes. Can everybody hear me back there? Okay, good. You got to make those decisions. It's not just a matter of I want to quit smoking. You got to take all these other things into consideration as well. You got to decide that that part of my life is over. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to live a healthier life. And it's all up to you how you want to decide to do that. You know, you may not realize that you want to stop smoking until you're sitting around one day and that van comes pulling up to your house and brings you your first set of bottles, oxygen bottles, to your home. Isn't that lovely? So you're sitting around the house. Let's picture this. You're still there. You're sitting around the house. Just imagine you're watching TV and you get a knock on the door. And you go up to the door and it's the oxygen guy carrying all your bottles of oxygen. Bringing your oxygen concentrator, which by the way is like a, what do you call it? One of those...
it's like R2-D2 from...
Yeah, it's like R2. it makes a lot of noise. It's an air compressor, basically an air compressor that sucks in the air and concentrates the oxygen and then blows out more concentrated oxygen for you. It makes noise and it's hot and it heats up the room and it makes it hard to cool the room down. It's a mess. You don't want to do that kind of thing. How many of you really want to smoke, really like cigarettes? You really just like to have cigarettes? Well, that's okay. Did you get one of these, ma'am? Did we have an extra one? Please pass that back to her. Please try that on, because if you like cigarettes, you're going to love this. And I don't mean to pick on you or nothing, but you got to understand what's going to happen. At some point, you're going to need one of these. It's very nice. Keep it for later. I'm sure it'll come in handy. And suppose you go through all these things and you get sick and you're fighting along, but that's okay. I can be sick, I can do all these things, but nobody's going to tell me I can't smoke. I had that same feeling many times. Nobody's going to tell me I can't smoke. I'm going to smoke. Doesn't matter. This summer, I'm going to take another run at a heart transplant. That's, by the way, going to be the sequel to the book is Road to Transplant. Watch for it in the bookstores. I'm going to take another run at a heart transplant this summer. And there's a chance that the doctor's going to tell me, no, I can't have another heart. They won't put me on a transplant list because my lungs are too screwed up, or maybe my liver's too screwed up, or this is too screwed up, or that's too screwed up. There's a good opportunity I'm not going to, 50-50 shot, I'm not going to get a heart transplant. And guess what happens if I don't get a heart transplant, folks? I'm going to die. I won't be here at this time next year to talk to you and see how many people have been able to stop smoking. I'm at end-stage heart failure. My heart's 3 times as big as it should. My ejection fraction is less than 10. I've got a special bi-beat pacemaker that gives me an artificial ejection fraction. I'm not pumping blood. If I don't get a heart transplant, I'm goner. And I've come to terms with that, and that's okay. But it was all because of cigarettes. So you can be in denial. You can say, I'm indestructible, and I'm not going to die, I'm not going to get sick because you're young and you don't feel like that's going to happen to you. But the truth is that if you keep smoking, at some point, it's going to catch up to you, and you're going to have to make some tough decisions in your life, like, which company do I want to bring my oxygen? Will my insurance company even cover that kind of stuff? Which hospitals have the best food? Because I'll be making a lot of trips to those hospitals. All these kind of things are things that you're going to have to start thinking about if you want to continue to smoke. I don't know. It's a decision that only you guys can make. But I tell you, there's 2 ways you can live. You can live a life where you try to be healthy, and you can try to stick around and be with your friends and family for as long as you can. Or you can live the life that I've got to live with right now, that is 1 leg in a graveyard and 1 leg on a banana peel, and make a decision on which way it's going to fall. I don't know. It's not up to me anymore to decide how my life's going to turn out. It's up to the doctors at this point. I have no say-so on whether I'm going to live or die. I do the best I can with what I got, but it's no longer in my hands. It's still in your hands, and you can still make the decision to live or not, or what level of quality of life you're going to have. Now this book. It's a good book. Even if you're not sick, it's a good read. It's going to talk to you about hope, and it's going to inspire you to want to do better with your life, and it's going to give you stories that are going to make you laugh, and it's going to have stories in it that are going to make you cry. But in any way you look at it, it's going to be a story about life, and it's going to be a story that you can relate to, because we all have our own lives to deal with. Now you can do it the way you've been doing it, and I guess that's an option, or you can make this opportunity to change right now. Take this opportunity to change. George Carlin one of the funniest guys I've ever known, said something that I thought was so profound that nobody ever repeated it, but I feel compelled to repeat what he said. And I'm going to paraphrase it for you. That cigarettes are the only commodity that, if used as directed, will kill you. It's an amazing, you know, it's the truth. And I don't, for my life's sake, I can't understand how it's still legal to sell them. I don't know.
It's money.
Yeah, maybe. Money, I guess it's money, but I don't understand it. Smoking's not good for you. We pretty much know that for sure. And so take this opportunity, do what you can to change your lives now while you got the chance. And that's pretty much it. Just before I close up here, does anybody have any questions about anything I've said or about my book? Oh, somebody wants to know where you can get it? You can buy my book at Amazon. You can go on to Amazon.com and find my book. You can also just look me up at brianhayden.com. I've got links to all the places you can go to buy it. And I thank you all for your time.